Today we are going to study runtime environments in compiler design. Runtime environment. A lot has to happen at runtime to get your program running. At runtime, we need a system to map the names in the source program to the storage on the media. The allocation and deallocation of memory is handled by a runtime support system, typically linked and loaded along with the compiled target code. One of the primary responsibilities of the runtime system is to manage activations of procedures. So it means to say that at runtime, to make the program run, it needs a lot of other processing that we need to do. We need to develop a system that is going to map the names in the source program to the storage on the machine, and for that we need to perform the allocation and deallocation of that memory is handled by this runtime support package that is being linked and loaded along with the compiled target code. And one of the primary responsibilities of making this runtime support system is to manage the activations of procedures. We assume that a program is a collection of procedures. A procedure definition associates an identifier with a statement. It associates an identifier with a statement. A statement could actually be a block of statements also. The identifier is called the procedure name. The identifier within the procedure definition is known as a procedure name, and the statements is called the procedure body. A procedure call is an invocation of a procedure. A procedure call is an invocation of a procedure within an executable statement. Procedures that return the values are normally called functions. So if I am going to take with an example for a program, we have the program that is sort, we have procedures read array, we have a function with the partition yz integer type, we have the procedure that is quicksort. Now within this procedure quicksort itself, we have quicksort, again it's going to be a procedure itself. We have a read array that is again a procedure that is begin and end. Now based on this program, if I am going to relate with this, we assume that a program is not more than a collection of procedures. That's fine. A program is a collection of procedures. Secondly, a procedure definition associates an identifier with a statement. A procedure definition associates an identifier with a statement, and an identifier is called the procedure name, and the statement is called the procedure body. So if I am going to write down procedure read array, it's going to be an identifier. These are the statements that is going to be within that procedure body. The procedure call is an invocation of a procedure within an executable statement. So here we have a procedure call for the quicksort. The procedures that return the values are normally called functions. So we have a function that is going to return a value, that is a partition function. Now based on this example, we are going to see some of the other parameters. For example, the formal parameters and the actual parameters. The formal parameters are identifiers declared in the procedure definition. Just now we have gone through with the procedure definition. Whereas the actual parameters, it corresponds in the function call, must correspond to the actual parameters in the function call. For example, if I am going to write down as m and n are the formal parameters of the quicksort procedure, the actual parameters in this call to quicksort in the main program are 1 and 9. So if I am going to take with this example, that is procedure quicksort, that is the formal parameters with m comma n, while it is going to be called over there within the program, it's going to be quicksort 1 comma 9. So going through with this example, we have seen it, the formal and the actual parameters, that is m and n are going to be the formal parameters and 1 comma n is going to be the actual parameters within the given procedures. The actual parameters can be a simple identifier or more complex expressions. Control flow. Assume, as in most of the mainstream programming languages, that we have a sequential program flow. The procedure execution begins at the first statement of the procedure body. Procedure execution begins at the first statement of the procedure body. When a procedure returns, execution returns to the instruction immediately following the procedure call. That is a control flow. For example, in the given program, if I am going to take it, let it be that we have a partition that is m comma n. The function is going to be called. After executing of that function, the statement immediately following that statement would be on execution. That is a control flow. Now, based on that control flow itself, that is when a procedure returns, the execution returns to the instruction immediately following the procedure call. Now coming to the word, what an activation means. Every execution of a procedure is called as an activation. Every execution of a procedure. So it means that whenever a procedure is in execution, we say that it is in activation. Now coming to the next term, what a lifetime is. The lifetime of an activation. Activation means procedure in execution of a procedure P is a sequence of steps between the first and the last step of the P's body, including any procedures called while P is running. So lifetime of any activation means a procedure in execution is the sequence of steps between the first and the last steps of the procedure P, including any procedure that was called while P was running. Normally, when control flows from one activation to another, it must return to the same activation. That's a very general phenomenon. When control flows from one activation to another means from one procedure to another procedure. It must return to the same activation, means the procedure where it was called. When the activations are thusly nested, we can represent the control flow with activation trees. So when we have an activation in a nested form, we represent that control flow in the terms of an activation tree. So let us go with the same example that we have seen in the previous one, that is execution begins, enter the read array, leave read array, enter the quicksort. So after entering the quicksort, we have partition, then leave the partition, it's a function, enter the quicksort again, leave quicksort, enter quicksort, and so and so. Finally the execution is terminated. So let it be that I am going to take with this one representing in terms of an activation tree, that is the main program, that is a sort. It's going to R, that is a read array. After read array, it's going to enter the quicksort, that is going to invoke the partition, that is further going to have the quicksort. Again it's going to have the quicksort, that is going to be divided into two subblocks based on the same phenomenon that we see it for the quicksort mechanism, that is the pivot and the indexing methods. So finally we are going to have the sorting of the entire input for the given program. Now this is how an activation tree is, means the main program is invoking the read array, then further it's going to return, that is leave the read array, then it's going to invoke the quicksort, and in the same manner continuing till the last. Now based on this activation tree itself, we can have the control stacks. We can use a stack to keep track of currently active activations. So it means to say that currently active activations means those procedures that are live, and those procedures whose execution have been completed, that won't be represented. So this control stack is used to keep the track of the currently active activations. It is used to keep track of currently active activations. As I repeated earlier, that it is only going to keep those activations, means those procedures that are live, and those procedures whose execution have been completed, that won't be represented in the control stack. We push a record onto the stack when a procedure is called, and pop that record off the stack when the procedure returns. Mean to say, when a procedure is going to be called, it is going to be pushed onto a stack, the record, and the record is popped off when the procedure completes its execution or it returns. At any point in time, the control stack represents a path from the root to the activation tree to one of its nodes. So at any point of time, by the help of the control stack, we can see from the root till one of the nodes, that is the entire procedure that are right now live, means it's in execution. So that is the purpose of getting the control stacks. So already we have seen an activation tree. Activation tree, it represents the entire procedure that were called. The entire procedure that were called during the entire execution of that program till the execution is terminated. So this Q, P, R, all are going to be the procedures and functions that is been on execution, or once they have been in execution. So once they have been in execution means they will be represented in an activation tree in the order of the execution itself. So this is an example of a control stack. This partial activation tree corresponds to control stack that is growing downwards. Obviously, starting from the main program, that is a sort read array, we have represented in dotted line, where dotted line represents that this execution have completed, means this procedure is not in activation, whereas the solid line represents that it is in activation. Obviously, as it has invoked the Q was invoked by, that is P was invoked by Q. After its execution is completed, it returned to Q. Again it's going to be 1, 3. It invoked P and Q. So this is going to be in activation, and all the others execution is being completed. So this S with solid line represents the control stack, means these are right now active, means these procedures are right now in execution. So this is an order S, Q19, Q13, Q23 based on the control stack representation. Again, the control stack is going to be generated by the help of an activation tree itself. Now coming to another term, that is environment and states. There are two terms that we represented in runtime environment. So runtime environment is going to be an allocation and a deallocation of memory locations at runtime, and how we are managing those things we are studying it. So if I am going to take this environment and states, the environment, it's a function that maps from names to the storage location. So mapping of the names to the storage location, whereas state is a function that maps storage location to the values that has been held on those locations. So it's a two function. One function that is name mapping to the storage location. So name mapping to the storage location, that is an environment function, whereas that storage, what value it's going to contain, that is going to be represented by the function state. So an environment maps name to L values, and states map L values to R values, where the L value means pushing the address of the data location, so obviously it's a storage location, whereas the R value, it represents the contents of that data location. So we are mapping the address to the content, and that represents the L values to the R values. The same thing we can associate it with the name bind. when an environment, just now what we have seen it environment, when an environment maps name X to a storage location S, we say X is bound to S. When an environment maps name X to the storage location S, we say X is bound to S. The association is a binding. That is called as a binding. That is, the X is bounded to location S. The assignments change the state but not the environment. Assignments change the state but not the environment. Where state, it represents the values, but it never changes the environment, means the storage location. For example, pi equals to 3.14 changes the value held in the storage location for pi. It changes the value that is held in the storage location for pi, but does not change the location, that is the binding of the pi. Bindings do change, however, during the execution as we move from activation to activations. So once we are moving from an activation to activation, there may be that the bindings may change, but never if I am going to take with a name X, that is to the storage location X, that is going to be there, only the state is going to change. Now this was all through that we have seen it for a name binding, environment and states. So do remember, environment is going to be representing a function, state is also going to represent a function. Environment, that is going to map names to the storage locations, whereas state, that is going to map the values that is held in that storage locations. Same way, if we are going to have a control stack, to represent a control stack, I need to have an activation tree. What is an activation tree? That is a complete execution of that program. So while during the entire execution of that program, whenever the functions or the procedures is being called or it's been in execution, a node is getting created, and that represents that a procedure was in execution at that point. And whenever that procedure is going to invoke another procedure, in the same way tree constructs. So this is all about an activation tree. Based on the activation tree, we represent a control stack. What's the control stack? It keeps a record of currently active activations or the procedures that are in execution. So how we are representing a control stack? By the solid line. So solid line represents that those procedures are in execution, and dotted line represents that those procedures whose activations is completed. Now what exactly an activation is? It's a procedure while that procedure is in execution. Only if a procedure is in execution, we say that it is in activation. What's the lifetime of an activation? The entire time that has been spent starting from the sequence, that is the first step, till the last step of the piece body, including any procedure that was called while the P is running. Now this, if we have a lot of activation that is a nested form, then we represent it in terms of our activation tree. So some of the basic terms that we have gone through over here, that was what is representing a control flow. Obviously from sequence, it's a sequential program flow. If a procedure is executing at the first statement of the procedure body, it executes in the same way, and in between, if some of the other procedures has been called, obviously the control will be flowing to that procedures, and after that procedure, the called procedure is going to complete its execution, the control would be returned back to the calling procedure itself. Apart from that, we have seen what are the basic parameters that has been used in the procedure, that is the formal parameters and the actual parameters. An example also we have seen it, that is m, n are going to be the formal parameters and 1 and n are going to be the actual parameters. This is one of an example that we have seen it for the representing of an activation tree, control stack and the bindings. This is a procedure definition. What exactly a procedure is? Procedures that return the values are normally called as functions itself. This was all about a runtime environment that we have seen in this video, that is representing a runtime support package that is normally needed for making the program run. So if I need to make the program run, so it's a runtime. At runtime we need to have this runtime support package, that is the allocation and deallocation